What's up, everyone? Welcome to episode 29 of my journey building my own AI startup. I'm building a little baby Google, a baby Perplexity is how I describe it. And it's a completely AI native search platform. And it's been great, the journey building it. I quit my job at Google a couple of years back, and I wanted to do this I mean, for the last decade, maybe more. And so happy to have the opportunity. Um, and today, a couple things. One, I want to wish India congratulations. Won the T20 Cricket World Cup 2026 against um, who were the opponents? New Zealand. Yes, I watched the game and I forgot. Man, a little bit hungover maybe. Yes, yeah, good fight, but at the end, India was just too strong, and too capable. And congratulations, Sanju Samson, man of the tournament. What a guy! What a guy! So, um, let's see. Today, I want to talk about a couple of things. One is caching, how I'm thinking about caching. Very important uh, for all applications, really, but for me, even more important because I have no funding, and caching is important. And also helps with performance. So, what's wrong with that? But before I jump into caching, I want to do a quick follow-up on my video from yesterday. And one of the things I was explaining in the video was how I want to include real-time information from X slash Twitter in my search platform. So when people are looking at me for trends, who's posting what's the discussion around any topic, travel, food, AI, technology, real estate, fashion, if you're into that, whatever you are. The platform is optimized for professionals, but it's a general purpose platform. And so you should be able to ask anything that you care about. And X is such a valuable resource because that's where a lot of the discussions happen, especially in the North American market that I'm targeting. North American market, ideally the target audience, the narrowest target audience I can think of is um, North of Silicon Valley founder professionals or Silicon Valley executives in tech companies or Silicon Valley investors. These are like early adopters and they care about tools that can help them save time. Typically, it's the cost isn't that much of a question if the what you're trying to build does an excellent job and solves a real problem, not just something surface level. And the mission of this platform from the very beginning has been to increase user happiness. And I've talked about how I connect the dots, like what has a search platform to do with happiness in my previous video. So I'm not going to repeat that. But so X is a very, very important resource. And everything I've done with this platform in terms of fetching real-time information, web pages, APIs, all of that, using APIs or crawling has been ethical because that's one of the pillars of what I call a micro startup or a nano startup. I have to come up with a nice name. Um, uh, a really a core philosophy for building these sort of micro startups where you've got these four pillars I talked about in my previous video: transparency, trust, control, user control, and ethics, being strong ethics, like make sure it is for the greater good. I think these are important in the next generation, next wave of startups we will see. Like mine, I'm a one-person company. I have no funding. I have no co-founders, but really, I have many agents that I use to kind of help me out, and it's been incredible. But X is a very important resource, and thanks to the X team, I have access to their API. So this is completely legal, completely not violating any terms of use. It's expensive, but it's the right thing to do. Um, and then I also talked about how I use all these different real-time APIs because I want to build a completely 100% AI-based platform like LLM. based platform. This is the best option I came up with, which is using LLM function tools. Although I have other approaches as well I use that are not tools. But again, in a sort of LLM native way that I'll talk about maybe in future sessions. Like tools are not the only way, is I guess my point. But for X, this is how I'm doing it. So for the LLM that you use doesn't really matter. Right now, I'm experimenting with Gemini. I'm hoping Google Cloud can give me some credit so that, because right now I'm paying with my credit card every single day. And I'm also paying $200 for Claude, $200 for Codex a month. So I have $1,000 of expenses just for my server bill and the AI tools I'm using. That's it, with no team members today. So it's very tight, very hard today for someone like me to add any more cost. So we have to be very careful. But I think it's the right way to do it. Um, if I get some credits, startup credits from a cloud platform like Google Cloud, it would be great. I also used to work for Google. I'm kind of familiar with the Google Cloud infrastructure. I was part of Google Search, not Cloud team, but I'm very familiar with Google Cloud. So that's why I started with Google Cloud and Gemini, hosted on Vertex AI, uh, can easily be part of the credits if I can get them. So please, Google Cloud team, help me. Um, no. So this is the way I would recommend, someone should use APIs, in this case X API. But one thing I want to highlight is this particular the last use case. So there's X post search, which is fine, X new search, which is fine, but X user post, that gave me a lot of trouble. So the use case is show me tweets by Jeff Bezos or posts by, or what is Jeff Bezos talking about lately, or what is he up to lately. So one of the things I would like my platform to surface is if he's been posting on X and what is he posting on, and summarize that. And it's been hard to do a reverse lookup from Bezos, like Jeff Bezos, like the name, to a user ID, because you need a user ID today to call X API. You cannot just say by Jeff Bezos, because that is not specific enough. And there could be many Jeff Bezoses on in the world, and they all may have Twitter accounts or X accounts. And it was and there is a user lookup API, but it requires a user token. Like basically, it's expensive and not scalable. Um, for backend server use. And so this gave me a real problem. And so I've done some few other techniques to use LLMs and do some batch API calls and verification and looking at multiple candidate users, um, and then checking their profile to see if they're verified, what are they affiliated with, or who are they affiliated with, etc., to find a candidate. I don't want to try too hard, like this is just a very small part of my entire backend. But since it's an important use case, I did spend a lot more time than I wanted to on this use case. So I just wanted to call that out. And now it's doing a decent job. Now it's working. Really, I only care about more sort of popular folks in the world or popular organizations in the world. If you're not very popular like me, chances are no one's gonna ask, what am I up to, or what am I posting on X or things like that. So it doesn't really matter. So it doesn't have to be that complicated. That was the aha moment. We really only care about influencers and the big, more popular folks. And so I tailored the solution for it, and now it's kind of working really well. And that's when I realized I need to introduce caching. I mean, I've been using caching across the board, but this is a re-architecture. This is my sixth re-architecture. This is the sixth version I'm on. It's crazy. And I had yet to bring in caching from my previous architectures back, and this was the right time. There is cache. I was using caching other places, but it was not in a unified way. So today I want to talk about unified caching in native AI applications, how I am building it. So this is it. And the sort of 10,000 feet version of how I'm building it is a multi-tiered cache. And this is kind of standard practice for several years. It's nothing I'm talking about is new or special, but it works. And so I just wanted to kind of share it. And the idea is that you have different layers of caching, and depending on what you're trying to cache, you should think about which layer makes the most sense. And they all have pros and cons. And that's the best, most effective way to do caching versus just having on the back end a global shared mem cache or memory cache, which is what many developers do. So I want to talk about like, so starting at the very top, layer one. So this is the browser or the client. And this is really important because if you can cache in the client level, in the user client level, it's just very quick for the user experience and free. You're not paying for the storage because it's on the user device. And it's fantastic. So I have things like home greeting and things, some content, etc., responses. I'm caching the user browser cache. So if the user searches again, maybe the same or hits back or something, the response is instantaneous. Next is I use the backend. In my case, it's a Next.js backend, or the API layer is Next.js. And so there, static assets, landing page, blah, 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 searches, etc. I cache at the page level. And then you have, I host my app on the Cloud Run, which is basically a VM in the cloud. And I have a bunch of APIs. And so they get cached at the backend level. And then I have Redis. See, look at all these V6 references. It's funny. I really am on V6 architecture. It's like throw the old code, try again. It took me because every time I would build and then I would realize, oh, this is how it would sort of really match what my vision was. And if I were to summarize my vision or the core tenets, it has to be 100% LLM intelligent so that as the models get better, my platform automatically gets better. That was very important to me, very important to me. Like it's just a hard tenet. The second tenet was global and multilingual from day one. I just wanted to build something that would work seamlessly wherever you are in the world. If you're using my product from Japan, it should appear that a Japanese entrepreneur built it. At least that's how it should appear. It should work as you'd expect. It's a high bar. But I wanted that from day one, not something in the future. It should be part of the first impression. These are things, if you have investors and stuff, they all will be debated. This is why I always recommend start by yourself. And then the third tenet, um, was user-centric design. So every decision made, design doesn't mean just UX, front-end design, also back-end decisions. Every decision, every design decision, non-design decision, we should make sure it's in the best interest of the user. So if we are storing something about the user that we may use it in the future, let the user know very clearly, or not hide it in gray font at the very bottom, italic or anything, very clearly, and give user the control. So those are the core tenets. These are hardline tenets. Like if you want to break, you need a very, very, very good reason. And then I use Cloud SQL. Um, um, the SQL database so I can cache at the SQL level. The advantages is if you want structured data and relationships, then that SQL makes sense. But the Redis is the most uh, useful uh, cache layer. It's just key value. You can store anything. It's all in memory, very high performance, low latency. So a lot of people just use Redis, but in my case, it's just one of the layers. But it no undoubtedly is the most popular layer. And this is where I cache all the lookups I do from Exit API. I don't cache the entire response because that may be violating their terms and conditions. I don't know. Many API providers don't allow for it, but I just do some things like the reverse lookup for users, right, and things like that. That it's a certain cost involved just to find Jeff Bezos's user ID, and so I want to cache that. So that was the use case that I wanted to also talk about because now next time when someone asks about Jeff Bezos and what's trending, I don't have to do that whole lookup process and pay the money and time, just quick cache lookup and boom, done. So that's why I wanted to kind of talk about both items. That lookup is expensive. most founders would not go through that process. They're like, oh, this is too expensive, or this is too complicated. But I chose the path where, okay, let's do it because we're, really optimizing for more popular people anyways, or organizations, popular, basically popular accounts on X. And so it's okay to pay the price, but then cash it. And this way we can unlock this amazing use case. Like I can talk about or I can ask my product, and hopefully I'll be able to demo soon because I can't wait. Right now I have working in testing, and yeah, is doing decent. Let's just say that. But so the use case I was thinking about was Apple, and maybe I don't want to know Apple as a company, but Tim Cook. What is he talking about? Right? I would love to just ask, and then have this thing and summarize. And you can't just do a web search. That's the part of the thing. Like when people think you're building a search platform, you just kind of calling some web search results and asking LLM to summarize. That's not the case at all. You'd get almost not garbage data or very old stale data. Most of the time you'll just get blog posts and news and articles and websites talking about Tim Cook, or referencing some of his posts that may be older and adding their commentary. But that was not what I asked for. I asked for what is he up to, um, personally, right? And so, yeah, I would expect in that case that it's okay to add some commentary of what Tim Cook is posting, and something else that maybe Tim Cook is not posting, but what the media is talking about. I think that's okay. Actually, the more I think about it, both should be part of the response. If I ask, what is Tim Cook up to lately? I think both I would expect in a good response, in a high quality response. I would expect things that he posted lately, recently, maybe last 7 days, on social media, specifically X. And then also, maybe there was something happening with Apple as a company or the products, and then people are talking about Tim Cook in that regard, but he's not posting it. I think I would expect that too um, in the response, and in this LLM should ideally synthesize all of that in a nice response in a format that I prefer, in a tone. The other thing I want to talk about in future videos is how do you personalize the response and identify the tone, like what tone. Should it be robotic? Should it be like a personal assistant? Should it be professional? Should it be funny? Should it be like a lawyer? I don't know. Like it's up to you. But that's, yeah, ideally that's what I expect. So in that case, the search platform, my search platform that I'm building, I expect not just the X API to be triggered, the X uh, API path, but also, or the tool. It's because there's a multi-layer, or uh, the query processing pipeline has multiple stages. And so in my platform, I would expect XAPI to be triggered, but also some new search to be triggered, and maybe even trending info, where I'm pulling some trend info from X or wherever, Google. That should trigger as well, and it should synthesize all of that. It's a high bar. These are the hard things. One more thing before we end that I thought was particularly hard when I was building this platform is something like last 20 matches, whatever sport you pick from, whoever are the contestants, you can pick football, you can pick soccer, you can pick baseball, and you can say for this individual, what are the stats for the last 20 games against this team? Oh, that's a very hard query. I think ChatGPT, Perplexity, they all do a decent job. Uh, I've tried in certain cases, but I was like, in my platform, I should be able to support it. These things are hard, very hard, because verify the data, and how do you make sure it is grounded in real data, and you can find last 20 games for this team, etc. Um, so I want to talk about those kind of use cases, the really hard ones that require filtering and slicing and dicing of data buried somewhere, and you have to deal with all these websites blocking you. For a company like me, or a backend like me, if I fetch or crawl or scrape anything, um, I'll be blocked, or I'll be um, um, violating possibly the terms and conditions. So it's the world is not set up for people like me to build a search platform, unfortunately, because there are so many bad things happening in the world, like in terms of like crawling and scraping with all these AI apps all over the place. Everyone's abusing, and so all the uh, publishers, they've just blocked bots and they're using Cloudflare. Rightfully so. I would do the same thing if I'm a publisher, because otherwise my content will be abused. And in my case, if I fetch content from your source, I'll source it correctly. I'll put a nice citation with the domain in a reference to your link very, very prominently. It's not like buried somewhere in the bottom, but no one will let me do it. And I don't have the resources to go out and um, uh, make deals with all these publishers, which is what Perplexity is trying to do now. So it's so hard. It's like an impossible task. Thankfully, there's some tools that kind of can help you out. I use Exa, which is a great service, and then there's some other services, Brave, etc., that can help you out. But it is tough. It's tough to build a good product or in this space, and almost is the environment is set up for failure, and that's why we don't see many startups. Actually, I don't even have funding, and I'm alone. But even if you have $10 million funding and you have the best team set up in Silicon Valley, it's still this is a hard problem. Um, Now ChatGPT, etc., they have an advantage now because they are brands, and so some publishers may allow them to crawl because they know if they block ChatGPT, all the users who are using ChatGPT or Gemini, uh, they won't have a great experience. They won't be surfaced, their content won't be surfaced, and so they may let ChatGPT in. But products like mine, hell no, it may appear very well may appear as like spammy bots or God knows, how they would even think. Yeah, it's just like unknown backend bot crawling our page block. So it's a very hard problem. But anyway, those are things I want to talk about, caching and um, caching and how to go about building a platform like this. And I'll keep doing more videos like this in the future. Till next time, see ya.